Good morning everyone. Well, it's a new day and we've got lots of parts. Let's get this tractor back together. The first thing this morning was let's get this tank sealed up. So we've already cleaned it out and now it's just a matter of putting the tank sealer in there and stirring this up and pouring it in and sloshing it around and then letting it drain out. So what I've got it all set up here. I've got it high enough to at the once I want to start draining, I can drain out the bottom onto and back into the can, and so that's why I've got those blocks there. But obviously the first thing is put the can in and turn it round and as much as we can get the sealer coated over the whole thing. It is draining into the back into the tin. It's good. We'll give that a few minutes and probably swirl it around a little bit more. And so in the end I let that drain for about an hour, coming back to it every 10 minutes or so and moving what was left in the bottom around so it made sure it actually covered everything. Also got some of the leftover sealer and just painted a few rust spots on the outside. So I've just cleaned out the threads of this one. This is actually the return inlet for the diesel from the pump. So I've just cleaned our threads out, and that's probably the low. When I had it upside down, that was the lowest part of the tank. So that's where I had everything draining out in the end. Everything else looks good. So now that just needs 96 hours to dry or cure, and that can go back in. So let's not watch paint dry and let's move on to something else. So we have a new seals steering hydraulic ram, so that was good. There's 5 parts to this, and so what I didn't realise is there's actually a wiper seal here that I need to pull out, which is this one. But I've got aluminium, so I need to take that out first, then we can start putting this back together. The first thing is to get this wiper seal out, which might be a little bit more difficult than you think. That's the seal there, and obviously that's it sitting in there. You see just in there that it's actually, it seems like it's smaller than the piece of steel that it's wiping against, so it might be tricky, but basically I just punched it inside until it got flat enough and then I could flick it out. Geez, that was harder than I thought it was. Should have been. Now with these you want to make sure there's 2 sides to them. There's an open side like that and a closed side. So the open side goes towards the pressure. So as the pressure goes in there, it pushes it out. And generally what you want to try and do is you want to try and make a loop in it. So sort of you want to have something like a loop in it, like that. It's pretty hard to see with black gloves and black seal, but you have something like that, and then you pop it out once it's in there to go all the way around. And the seals, to be fair, are stronger than you think they are. Well, you think you might be hurting them or something like that, but it's nicely seated in there. Both seals, you can see the first one, oh, you might not be able to, but first and second one's in there. Right, this one's easy. This is just a ring around there. Right, so the next thing is we do need to take this off. This will go on here, but I'm just gonna it's nice and tight. Right, the last two seals. So it's a rubber ring. With a plastic there we go, I was able to stretch that over. It does look a bit stretched now, but they generally do suck back in. Goes on there. We just bent the end of that over. It was like that when I first did it, and I just wound the nut off it and pulled it straight. But I guess it was actually, the nut was actually loose when I pulled it off. So it was glad that that was rolled over, so it didn't actually just fall out. Right, so well, it's been half a day, and that white seal, this is the old one, did shrink in, and I pushed it in. Sorry, it seems like it didn't hit record. I pushed it in and turned it, and it just dropped in, so that was definitely the trick there. Sorry I didn't catch that. Now we'll just tighten this up. So to finish this all off, going to clean it up with a bit of wax and grease remover, and then give it a coat of paint with Kubota grey, and that should tidy it all up and make it look good. It is all cast, so it wouldn't probably rust anyway, but just to make it look a bit tidy. The last weekend I also rust coated the inside of the area where the well, I cleaned it all up obviously, and then I did actually put some rust coat all over that. So I'm going to paint this with some Kubota grey. I know it's the colour that's on there is actually aqua, what they call the blue aqua. But I couldn't get that. I couldn't get that easily. I mean, end of the day, all this stuff is actually cast, and what you're seeing is really a bit of surface rust. It's not really much more than that, but I thought while we're in here, we might as well protect this as much as we can. And we've got 4 litres of Kubota grey, so it'll touch up over some of this rust spots, which I have put rust converter on. I'm sure won't harm it all. Right, so we're on to cleaning this dash up. Now I have actually gone through and tested the gauges and they all seem to be working, including the tacho gauge here. The problem what I found with the tacho was that the cable between here and then the tractor is broken right in the middle. So I've got a new one of those on order. Now I've ohmed out that this is the fuel gauge and this seemed to work. The ohms change when you move that, so that seemed to work. The problem here was the wires weren't actually connected, they were disconnected, so that was probably the reason why that didn't work. Now as you can see on here, the tacho is missing the rest of the pointer, so we're just going to quickly make up a new piece for that. A bit of plastic here. That looks about right. Well, we got this all done up, so I've hot glued a piece of plastic on there and put a stop on, so that should all work now. I have tested all the light bulbs in here and the warning lights up the top, so that's all good. Just needs a bit of a clean, and I've tested all the gauges already. So those are all cleaned up. Now we're going to put them in. Now I've always used Teflon tape. Never had any wrong with PTFE tape for doing this sort of things. But when the guy came and put a couple of extra hydraulic hoses on my tractor, he used something like this. So I thought I'd give this a go. It seems to work quite well. And the problem with Teflon tape is you're not sure how much to stick on there. If you don't stick enough, you've got to take it off again and wind it all on. Because you can feel it's not tight enough, where this stuff doesn't work that way. You just put a dab on and it winds around, and after a bit it seals up. So
Right, those seem to be into the same position that they were before I pulled them off. I believe that goes upwards like that. That hole's at the top. There's only one hole because the clamp for the pin is on the top. Now, I believe this one is the top one and this is the bottom one for the holding. Because you can, and you can't get in from this side when to grease it, but you can get in from the front. And this one is facing outwards, which you can get in from no problem underneath. So that's how those two go. We'll find the bolts and then we'll jack the tractor up, I think. To get the hydraulic ram back in here, we need to turn the wheels of the tractor so this actually comes over so we can drop the pin in. Right, as you can see, that is now in a position that we can get the pin down into it. So now we just need to get the hydraulic ram up in there. Right, there we go. So just want to put some grease on these surfaces. These do actually have a little brash bushing inside them, plus a little rubber seal. The little rubber seal, I mean, it doesn't look too bad. Well, that was a mistake, wasn't it? Okay, well, I'm going to have to wind those out. There's actually a pin here that you've got to push it on, so technically you've probably got to do both at the same time. Well, that was a bit of a mistake. Well, I'll just wind the bolts out on the bottom one. And now the bottom one doesn't have a pin, so therefore, obviously the answer is you've got to put the top one on and slide it in first. Pull these caps off. So this whole thing is very simple how it joins. So there's one pin that goes down and then this goes into that and holds the pin from going up and down. And there's a little nut, a bolt that goes into the top of the ram. So yeah, there's not much to it really. So there we go, we've got the retaining clip in here into that pin so it doesn't move up or down. And I've got the bolts here and here on either side and down the bottom as well that holds these retaining, which holds the ram in. And there was what you didn't see, there was a little locking pin that stuck into the thing here, which means and there was top and bottom, so I had to put both of these in at the same time and pull them in evenly. So there. Anyway, that's all good, so I'm going to put some grease in this. There's one over here as well, you probably can see, and then one down the bottom, put some grease in that. Tie the put the two hydraulic lines back on, and then this bit is done. Now I did marker these hoses. This one, the tie on it, is the one at the top, and the one without the tie on is the one that goes into the other one. So the next thing I think we'll do is we can get in here is replace this filler neck. So that's got a crack in it and has been leaking. It leaks oil when the engine's running. So I was able to get a second hand one, which is about, I did price a new one. I could get a new one too, actually, to be fair. $90 from Kubota, and this one from the parts wreckers was $30. So I was thinking about actually welding. This is actually aluminium. It's not any cast or steel or anything, and I was thinking about welding the or TIG welding the aluminium up, but I'd have to go get gas. I've never TIG welded aluminium before, so it's a bit of a learning experience and da-da-da. So I thought this was the easier route, to be fair. So let's get in there and get that off. So I've cleaned the surfaces up, and I'm going to use the Permatex Ultra Black gasket maker on this. I've used this stuff before, it's really good, so it's better than, I think it's better than putting a gasket on here. I have cleaned and sanded the surfaces up, but that's probably way too much. Not an easy thing to get in there and do, actually, and sorry you probably haven't seen very much there, but that's it there. There's one bolt here. It was very hard. This the fuel filter bolt was in the way. That 1/4 inch just got in there, and then there's the other bolt on the other side here, which was a bit easier to get to. Alright, that's done. I'll tighten that up in about an hour. Alright, well, things are getting a bit messy on the bench here, and I need to do some cutting and welding, so I think the next thing is we'll get this fuel tank, diesel tank, back on the tractor, and possibly even the gauges, and then that will clear the space off for me to do some more work on the benches. I need to do some cutting and welding. So here we are, putting the pep cap on the bottom of the fuel tank, along with the fuels hose that goes to the fuel filter. And now the instrument panel going on. Now this is a little bit difficult because I couldn't get the steering wheel off. I unbolted that, but it was all seized on. So anyway, it just got a slightly particular way, and it just slips on, but you just got to hold your tongue right. And there we go, it's done. Then the next thing is the fuel sender gauge. So got that in, and that only goes in down one way, I found. There's 5 studs there, and it's specially designed so that the fuel sender sits and is looking in the right direction, or pointing in the right direction. So work that out. That was pretty easy. And then tighten that down. And then for the very last thing, we actually need to put the bolts in to hold the tank down. Right, and then we need to put the fuel return
in.
So I've just been cleaning the fuel cap out here. That's in there, and that's I've got a hole in it. But what I realised is there's two holes here, and you won't be able to see it, but they actually come out here. So these are the breather holes. So if I put a bit of stuff in here, you can see it's bubbling out down there. So those are, and there's one on each side, which is relatively interesting. So that's how air gets into the tank when it's sucking fuel out. It needs to be able to breathe to fill the space. So I didn't know that, and it's obviously quite important that these holes are actually free and clear of dirt and dust, so that the air can go in there and then come back out there. Right, this is ready to go back on. This is all cleaned up.
Right, thanks everyone for watching. This video is getting a bit long, so I'll cut it off here. As you see the picture, next time we're stuck into pulling the back axle off this tractor, putting some new oil seals in to stop it dripping out of that. So stay tuned, subscribe for the notification of the next one, and we'll catch you next time.